You wanna know what's really bold? I'm getting licked on my leg underneath my desk. Hello again. We're back here in Casa de la Tapes and Ass. So I did the little reaction video of that thing, and people, all 5 of you liked it. So I mentioned in the last one that I wanted to do like this little mini series of things of Final Fantasy VII leading up to the remake, and obviously that didn't happen. So now that I have time, because I'm sequestered into my home, I'm going to actually do that in one thing. I'm just going to kind of mesh everything together. What I originally wanted to do was kind of go beyond the clickbaity shills, if you will. Shills. She shills. I can't think of anything. Because I literally hate with a fiery fucking purple passion like these channels that just regurgitate the information that they read on fucking Games Radar. I hit the microphone stop. I have a tendency to do that. Maybe my pop shield's in the way, and I just popped it and clipped my audio. But no, I hate that people literally just go and read fucking GameSpot. I can read myself. I don't need you to narrate it for me. And then at the very, very end, they throw like one little bit of opinion on it that's not really opinion. As of press time, we are 3 days from the release of the game. As the crow flies. That's not right, is it? As the crow flies is not... That's not time. That's distance. My bad, dog. As the crow flies is how Amazon is gonna fucking deliver my pre-order this week. We've all sat back and we've all thought about what's going to happen in this, what they're gonna change, what's going to happen going forward, because I know a lot of people have already played the first game. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a list of bold-ass predictions that we might see. I'm not saying this is what I think is gonna happen. I'm not saying that this is gonna happen. And I'm not saying that I'm writing fan fiction. Does Amazon still let you make money off of other people's shit? Is that still a thing? But this is just some things to think about. Like, I'm a storyteller by trade. I've got a college degree in show business. These are just things like you sit there and you let your imagination run wild, because right now, that's how I personally feel. Like, I feel like a fucking kid again, because I'm so excited for this game to come out and I've been waiting for it. It's fucking time. There is some minor spoilers for those of you that have not played the original game and are going into this fresh, for you youngins. And yes, I am familiar that there are people in this world that have already completed the game and played it and done everything that they need to do to get 100% and all the platinum trophies. And I also know that there are people that haven't played the game that have read spoilers because they're out there for you to see. Well, I am not one of those people, because I actually like to enjoy shit. I have not read anything of what's going to happen. Aside from what's been in trailers, I've been very good about not looking at the internet and reading stupid people's things, or I don't put much stock in reviews anyway, so I'm not gonna read them. And I'm not really interested in seeing some asshole play a video game for 9 hours at a time that I haven't played myself already. Some people, like I said, just like to enjoy shit, so let us enjoy it. This isn't what I'm thinking that's gonna happen in this game. This is what I think's gonna happen as the story overall, because we don't know how many games are coming after this one. So an overarching loop is what this is going to be more about. Not just this game, because like I said, I know everybody, there's going to be some asshole in the comments who will play the game, that don't happen. And all I got to say to them is, fuck you. So this is probably the most likeliest one, because they've already seen flashes, and that's how I'm going to do this. It's going to be the most likely to the most outlandish. They are definitely putting stuff from the compilation in this, because there's no avoiding it. It's a different story, but it's the same guys telling the different story. It's really hard to ignore the things that you've had on back catalog for 20 plus years. When they came out a couple years ago and said that they were going to ignore a lot of the compilation material, I think that was just basically a total red herring, because they've already have gone back on that as it is. The inclusion of the Turk side story characters, the fact that Zack is probably in the game, as we discovered in the final trailer, when Jesse alluding to there being other sectors of Avalanche. You can't really ignore this stuff, especially when you're going back and trying to make something from you know, like the original story treatments that they had, and drawing things off of that. That's where they created a lot of the compilation stuff from. It's all coming from the same place and the same minds. Like, I would think that they would be ignoring things like the materia deal, where like goes into your arm like it did in Advent Children. I think Advent Children at this point is right out, but stuff like Crisis Core and Before Crisis, and definitely not fucking Dirge of Cerberus, they have to be in the back of your mind, or the back of the writer's mind, or the back of the scenario creator's mind, when they're thinking about how do we flesh this out and make this 2-hour part of the game, you know, a full-fledged game. And the other little breadcrumb that they've been sprinkling throughout about the maybe including stuff in the compilation is there's a line in the song Hollow that has finally been, like, the full version has finally been released, and the last line in it is or the second to last, it says, refers to something as howling, and we all know that the song is being told from Cloud's perspective, and the whole Cloud howling thing, you know, with the imagery of the wolf and everything, is very, very Advent Children-y, and at the same time it's also meant to represent Zack. And that's really the only thing that I've looked beyond, because I don't think you're ever going to get a soundtrack that spoils you. Do they do that? Do they make soundtracks that spoils everything? Aerith kinda dies at the end of disc 1, and you might be Darth Revan the whole time. I'm sorry about that. This isn't necessarily a bold take, because I think pretty much everyone is like assuming and wanting this to happen. Those other Red 13 clones have got to be in, or you have to encounter them at some point. Maybe it's on the way to Cosmo Canyon in Disc 2, Game 2, but you gotta see them at some point. It's pretty common knowledge to people that, you know, like follow the lore and have like studied the shit out of this game over the last 20 plus years, but there originally was supposed to be other Red 13s, whatever they're supposed to be called, Dogmen. There's supposed to be other Dogmen, Warg riders. Like, you were going to have to fight them, and that was the original idea, but for whatever reason it didn't pan out. They worked on that fighting game that came out in the 90s, Air Guys, that had Django, who was basically a silver Red 13. I think his alternate costume was red, which was a nice little treat for you guys. I think that it's like a foregone conclusion. If you're thumbing through your 20 years of notes, let's pull out these fucking Dogmen and let them fight. And it also will stand to show later in the game, like in Game 2 or Game 3 or whenever it is the hell you get to Cosmo Canyon. It would be good to have that, because if you look back at the original game, and I recently played through the original game again because I do it pretty much once a year because I'm a fool and I like it. You can't tell me what to fucking do. But if you look back, a lot of the ancillary, if your name isn't Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, or Barrett, there's really not a whole lot that the characters do in the game. They really don't have a lot of conflict. Maybe Sid. You can throw Sid into that conversation because he's there to basically progress the story once the whole huge materia thing start and trying to destroy Meteor and everything. Of the non-secret characters, like the characters that you get in the beginning, like Red 13's probably like the least developed, but he's one of the most beloved, and it's weird as shit. It's like the Boba Fett syndrome. Like, he really doesn't have a whole lot to do. You go to Cosmo Canyon that first time, you see the statue that cries, which statues can cry too, I guess. And then you have to go back after you summon Meteor, which you can totally miss. Like, you don't even, it's not even like required that you go back. You just go back to get his fucking limit break or something. And that's really it. Like, he doesn't really do anything else aside from you might have him in your party because you think he's cool and he'll throw the whatever scripted line from some situation. So I think they gotta do this, especially to pad him out, and especially with the disappointment of so many people that were just like, how come Red 13's not in the game? Because you get him at the fucking end, you son of a bitch. So another aspect of the original story treatment that did not make it into the final, that it's kind of common knowledge, is the relationship, god damn it, the relationship between Sephiroth and Aerith. Originally, they were supposed to be siblings. Some people don't know that. I'm sorry to let that cat out of the bag for you, because that's why their hair looks the same. Does anyone ever notice that? I draw things, so I saw the hair. First thing I noticed is the girl's hair and the effeminate men's hair. But they were supposed to be brother and sister, and been a lot more poignant if at the end of disc 1 that he kills his brother. I don't know what sibling side is. I don't know the cool word. If you do know it, you can go to the comments and you can shut up. But another way to flesh out the story, especially they keep teasing it in the trailers, man. All these little transitions. Yeah, I don't think that they do anything without there being some sort of meaning behind it. Like, there's got to be some sort of underlying message that they're trying to send us, so they could point at it after the fact and be like, oh, we told her. Japanese people do that. But I think that they kind of have to do something to make that connection between Sephiroth and Aerith stronger. Maybe not necessarily go the full-on brother-sister type deal. If they did have a connection, and if they were trying to change things, because I think they're going to change a lot of things around this pivotal moment that I can't talk about that happened 20 fucking years ago that you know, but I can't discuss it. It's not going to have the same meaning as it did back then unless they add a little caveat to it or give you the doubt that maybe Sephiroth actually doesn't want to do, or like have a motivation to not do it. Because that's the key to storytelling, especially if you're doing something that people already know. You gotta change it up a little bit. So now we're starting to get into the little outlandishing stuff. Long-haired mullet man. Mullet-haired motorcycle man. Mullet Man Mike. Like, the only thing that they've released on Mike is that it's like intentionally vague. Like, it's the goofiest shit ever. I think it was some stupid thing like, he likes to ride fast. He's a smooth talker and he likes speed and he's a rebel. It's so one-dimensional, and I don't think that they would just introduce a new character that's so one-dimensional just to have an extra boss. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I get why you introduce all the wall market people, like the Cowboy Troy and the geisha lady, reintroduce Leslie in a different capacity. Like, I get that, because they're ancillary characters. They're there for what they need to be. It's probably going to be like a couple hours for you to do the whole cross-dressing wall market thing. And after that, they're not really that important anymore. Or they might repurpose them to do something else. But Roche just seems like, here's a guy that we threw in there so you can fight him on a motorcycle. And like I said, I don't think that they do anything that is not without some sort of ulterior meaning or motive. I think that they're going to expand upon Roche, and this is the way that I think that they're going to do it. It would be more interesting to me than just having Roche just be there to fight. That Roche was actually connected to Cloud somehow. And that's what they seem to be hinting at anyway, because in every single trailer, you never see Roche without Cloud being on the screen at the same time. And it kind of makes the most sense to me, is that Roche is the third man. I think that Roche might be fucking Ramirez. I think that Roche is actually the third guy that came with Sephiroth. So it would have been Zack, Cloud, and then Ramirez Roche. He is the one that they left in Nibelheim once the bridge exploded, because you never even hear about that guy anymore, and Sephiroth's literally just like, leave him. We don't have time for this shit. And his name is stupid. So I think it would be cool that you actually have someone within Shinra that works for Shinra that happened to manage to survive all that shit. Because I don't think they ever explicitly say he died, but then they Phoenix down his ass and brought him back to life. And why wouldn't he? Like, and I don't think he would have died anyway. Fucking Tifa was like goddamn 12 and she survived it. Is Tifa tougher than Roche? But to have him come back after the fact, 5 years later, he's kind of moved up, but at the same time, he's still pissed off. Would just leave his ass, and Shinra basically left him for dead, but he still needs a fucking job, and that's what makes him rebellious, instead of just saying he's a rebel. Well, why is he a fucking rebel? And it would also make sense to me that they would do that, because it didn't make sense to me in the original game how absolutely no one in Shinra knew who the fuck Cloud was. No one could just be like, hey, you're not who you say you are you? You're bullshitting us. You're bullshitting your friends too. We know your ways. No one says that. Like, even President Shinra says, oh, you're the one that quit Soldier. It's just like no one questions it. The only person that knows for real within the party is Tifa. And I think it would make a cool dynamic if one of the bad guys knew. That would make the most sense, because if Roche and Cloud were the same rank at the time, then they would obviously know each other, and Roche would know who Cloud is now to know that he's bullshitting everybody. And I think that would add like a total whole dynamic to the reveal of the Nibelheim story and make Roche more well-rounded. this is the one that I didn't even think about until I literally watched that trailer earlier this week, and you can actually watch the trailer and see the wheels turning in my mind. It's like something's not right. Like they changed something here, and I'm talking about Rufus. I don't believe in coincidences when they edit stuff this way. I think they're trying to tell us something. Like they changed his hair color and they made it look more silvery. There's something different about Rufus this time around, because Rufus was also very one-dimensional. Like I love the game and I love the characters, but Rufus did not have any redeeming qualities in the original game other than, well, he didn't fucking have any. But they tried to correct that in Advent Children to make him more of a sympathetic character, to basically turn him babyface. He was this shitty Amarillo, Texas heel the whole time. It seemed like the way they edited it and the way the way they cut it together, like they're just trying to allude to the fact that there's some sort of connection. Because I don't think they're going to scrap the whole clone thing, because that's the whole point, that's the whole foundation of the story is genes and everything. So I don't, it just seems weird to me that they would make such a drastic stylistic change to one of the primary bad guys and throughout the entire game, like changing something as simple as a hair color. Like he looks more long in the face, like Sephiroth is long in the face, if you know anything about facial features. He just looks like Sephiroth, and it just seems weird as fuck to me that why they would do that just on a whim. And looking back at the Ultimanias and all the other things, the bounty of internet knowledge that's out there about the game, I was correct in assuming that President Shinra had other children. I had forgotten the fact that one of those children was actually Lazard, and the other one was the main character of Kojima's book. Nojima, excuse me. Oh, this ain't Kojima, I can tell you that, but we getting Kojimas right now. Lazard was one, and the character Evan, and President Shinra was basically like fucking Zeus, going down to the slums and raping everyone that he could. And as we all know, there's some attractive slum ladies in the city of Midgard at night. So I think you can really expand upon the fact that Rufus might be a fucking clone. Just because he's the son, you know, they did the whole thing where they sent him away because he got demoted, because he didn't really agree with anything, that he might have been a fucking clone of Sephiroth, or maybe another failed clone if we're going to bring in the whole compilation deal. Once again, all this to add a twist and a dimension to these characters that we've known for 20 years that would A, throw you for a loop, and B, still sort of maintain, you know, the semblance of the original story without straying too far from it. Like just something subtle like that. And that's what I think really that they're really capitalizing on everything, is just these little subtle changes that they're making is just enough to springboard into something bigger. This one is going to be the one that people have kind of clamored for a while, because I mean they did it. They're the one that planted the seed and sprinkled a little water on it, and eventually it's going to grow. But I think before this is all said and done, we're probably going to have some kind of Final Fantasy X connection. Can't do what you did in Final Fantasy X-2, you know, years after the fact. You know, Final Fantasy VII came out, and you make X-2, and you make those accusations that the worlds might be connected, and then basically confirm it later, and then not fucking do anything with it. I think it would be stupid for them not to, especially with all the rumblings that there might be a 10-3. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do it. I mean, you can literally make a whole video about the similarities and connections that you can draw between 10 and 7, like Genova might be Sin, all the people moving to a new place, the whole deal with the live stream versus the far plane, and people dying and returning to the planet versus dying and being sent, and the fact that whatever Red 13 is and the Ronso could somewhat be connected. You know, Ronso couldn't talk, but they could stand upright. Red 13 could talk, but he can't. Like, they traded one thing, like Evolution, they traded one thing and made an adaptation to Compromise. Like, I think you can go into all that and go at it for hours. But to think that they did all this and set that connection up and then not actually pay it off with anything, I think would be absolutely stupid. And a lot of people are like, well, don't mix my Final Fantasies. And it's just like, motherfucker, how many goddamn Dissidias have you played? The whole merging of different ideas from different mainline games, I don't think is that big a deal. If anything, it's because I play Final Fantasy 14, and they've been doing it for years. Like, we've gone back to Evil East so many fucking times. Ramses in the game. It's not stuff that's just optional. It's stuff that's there and readily available that you can go on and do those quests. It's not just some optional side quest. So I think that it would be good that if they included some little Final Fantasy X references, Spira references. So what do you, my 3 watchers, listeners, people in the world, what do you think that they're gonna say? I know one of you 3 people have probably already played the game, so it's what it is as far as your opinion. But for everybody else that actually enjoy things, let me know what you think as far as what's next. Even if you have played the game, what's fucking next? How far are we gonna go? Do you think that Sephiroth and Aerith are gonna be lover, brothers, sisters in some weird Pornhub-esque type situation? And by golly, do you think that Red 13's gonna turn into a real boy by the end of it? For sure, this time? Do you think that President Shinra might have had sex with your mom?